What is up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Got Next podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Baldwin, with my co-host, Donovan Moore.
Yes, sir. It's great to be back, my guy.
Yes, sir. Adam Flanagan back on the show with us, man, regular at this point. Say what's up, Adam.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys having me back.
Yep. So, NBA Finals are here, man. We're waiting all year for this moment. The Mavs and the Celtics. So we got a couple questions we're going to go through today. Obviously, pick winners and losers of the finals and what it means for each team and their star players. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that type of stuff. Follow us on the socials at the Got Next podcast. And without further ado, let's get into the intro.
Three-pointers. Outside jumper for three at the bucket.
Alrighty. So, first topic that we have for today is, guys, what was your favorite and least favorite series of this year's playoffs? Adam, you can go ahead and kick us off, man.
I'm torn on this question. I really enjoyed Pacers Knicks this year. I think it was just high level basketball for all the games that it went. I think with the Knicks kind of falling apart there during the last game and the games before that, just all those injuries piling up. I think we would have saw Knicks going to the next round if those injuries didn't happen. But I just think, overall, I think it was the most competitive and most fun series to watch so far. I think besides that one, I'd definitely go Timberwolves and Nuggets. Just seeing how Timberwolves matched up against a championship level team like the Nuggets, ultimately beating them, and just showing that they're like ready for the league. Anthony Edwards, the way he was playing during that series, he really just showed that he's like trying to be this new face of the league, trying to show that he's here to stay. And ultimately, those are the two I most enjoyed.
What about the one that you didn't like as much?
The one I didn't like as much, I'd probably go. I mean, I feel like I have to go Lakers Nuggets, right? I mean, for my Lakers getting booted out like that easy. Not that I didn't expect it. I just didn't think that we would just be, beat so easily, especially with us being up almost every single quarter of every single game, having all those leads and just crumbling. But I mean, that's kind of been our identity the last few years now. So hopefully next year we can kind of shake back and get back to winning basketball here.
I got to agree with you on the favorite series, Adam. I'll probably say definitely that Timberwolves Nuggets series, just high level basketball. And then for it to go 7 games as well, it was really a back and forth series. A close second for me would probably be the Mavericks and Thunder series. That was another great series as well. I feel like that could have went 7, but I just feel like every game was really competitive. Besides one game, I think the Mavericks blew them out, but that was really a great series as well, in my opinion. But my least favorite, I'll probably have to go with the Pelicans Thunder. I think it was just a clean sweep on that. And then without Zion Williamson, I'm not going to say it necessarily lacked star power in that series. It just wasn't really much that drew me to it. Thunder kind of handled their business. They didn't make things interesting there. So I'll probably say that's my least favorite series of the playoffs would be that one.
For my favorite, definitely going to have to piggyback off of you guys with the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. I think that was probably one of the most unpredictable at the time, especially after the Nuggets came back from being down 2-0, I believe it was. Then for least favorite series, I'm kind of tied between two. Adam kind of brought the personal in, which makes me think of the Miami Heat and the fact that, Tyler Hero only showed up for one game. It kind of, yeah, man, it was definitely a rude awakening for him, and just a bad look for him overall. And I think my other least favorite series would probably be the Cavs Magic. It's just one that I didn't really care to watch a lot of them. Some of them did come down to the wire, and I had to watch them for work purposes. But, outside of that, I probably would not have watched any games of that series just because I knew the winner of it was going to lose to the Celtics. So it didn't really matter. Next up, the finals matchup, man. Mavs versus Celtics. So, Adam, who you got and how many games, and why do you have that team ultimately?
I've been tossing around my picks for probably the last few days here, but it was actually yesterday. I sat down and kind of looked at a bunch of things. I'm going Mavs in 6. as to why, I would just say I think the Mavs have a better rotation right now. I think with Derek Lively playing the way he's playing and really showing up and, basically helping them win these series. Like last series, he was one of the main reasons coming off the bench, getting those. I think he was averaging at least like 12 rebounds, 10 to 12 rebounds a game during that series. He's kind of a double-double machine at this point. I think with PJ Washington, he had some weird games during that Timberwolves series where he would have 0 points going into the third quarter, and then he'd erupt for 10 to 12. So I think he's going to be a big dark horse here, but I think that ultimately just the rotations and the matchups that the Mavs team has right now, I think that's kind of what's confirmed my thought process on. I think the Mavs just take this one home.
This is tough. I think I'm gonna go with Boston. Yeah, I'm going Boston in 6 to 7 games. I'm gonna say 7 just to be safe, but I'm going with Boston just because of the fact was going back to a couple years ago when they lost to Golden State in the finals. I just feel like leaning on that experience they got there. And not to say that Luka and the Mavericks don't have that experience, and then you still got Kyrie, of course, but I just feel like the overall team of Boston, like when you get down to the role players, the Derek Whites, the Drew Holidays, the Al Horfords, they all kind of have that experience they need. And then I just think also you spoke to the Mavericks' depth. I feel like Boston kind of matches up with them in terms of depth. I think Boston may honestly have better role players than the Mavericks, to be honest. The Mavericks have the best player in the series in Luka. I'm no doubt about that, but I just feel like the overall team of Boston is better constructed than the Mavericks. So it'll definitely be a great series. I think the main difference to me is just in that Timberwolves series with the Mavericks, they kind of just isolated Gobert and kind of just paused. They kind of just took advantage and, they just flat out won the series from there. I just think Boston's just gonna, go with a smaller lineup, possibly something that's more switchable. Pause, and then So yeah, I just think Boston's gonna find a way to get it done. I think they're still gonna, harp on that pain of losing to Golden State a couple years ago after being up 2-1 and going back home as well. So I think Boston gets it done this year.
You said how many games, Dono?
I said 7 to be safe, but I can see it going 6. I'm taking Boston in 7 though.
Boston in 7. All right, cool. Now I'm gonna say this and also apologize at the same time. I'm gonna pick the Mavericks in 7. I apologize to Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. If you're listening to this, I know you're not, but please accept my apology. I didn't think it was gonna work out, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think the team was gonna be able to find other nice role players that were gonna fit nicely with this team. I didn't think that they were gonna finally go all in on the center position like they did, and here they are. So I feel like that's kind of what they've been missing over the last couple of years, and the way they've been playing, I can't really pick against them right now. So yeah, I got the Mavs in 7. Why? I would just say because even though Derek White and Drew Holiday are good defenders, what I saw Luka Doncic do to Anthony Edwards and McDaniels last series, it's just like, and those guys are already undersized in this matchup versus Luka, and like Anthony Edwards and McDaniels really weren't, and it kind of just seemed like either Luka was getting and Luka's the type where when he gets past you, he'll keep you on his hip. So it's really hard to get back in front of him and get back into the play at that point. And I think they're going to really run into that a lot, the Celtics, and then he can shoot right over those guys as well. So it's either Luka's getting you on his hip, manipulating matchups, or he's going to find the open man or get a foul or shoot over you. So I feel like Luka's just a different type of superstar when it comes to defense. It's really hard to guard him defensively compared to other guards. So I think Luka is going to be the main factor in this matchup. I think that honestly, I really haven't seen Luka go for that crazy game yet. I feel like it's going to happen in this finals. He's finally motivated. They're 4 wins away, and I think that he's going to be more motivated than ever. You're going to see a fully motivated Luka and a fully motivated Kyrie, and I think that that's just too much for the Boston defense. So
I just want to add on to that last one real quick. I just feel like Boston's going to make Luka play defense as well. I feel like the Timberwolves didn't have anybody that challenged Luka to actually lock in. I feel like Boston, they got outside of course, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who both can get 25 to 30 any night. I just feel like they got between Drew Holiday and then with Porzingis coming back and then Derek White, all three of those guys could give you 20. And Drew Holiday can give you 20 with maybe like 6 assists, 6 rebounds, like, and then Derek White could do the same thing. So just, I feel like their role players are better offensively as well than the Timberwolves. Like the Timberwolves had solid role players that were very good defensively, but offensively couldn't really, create their own shot or do certain things. I just feel like Boston has those guys that can knock down shots, but also still kind of maybe get their own if need be. So I think that might also be the difference as well.
So I know something you talked about was role players was the main thing for you, or why you picked the Celtics. What role players is it exactly that sell it for you for the Celtics over the Mavericks?
I mean, I just gotta say Derek White, and I mean, it might sound funny, but niggas like Al Horford, bro, like
it's not funny. I respect the hell out of Al
Horford. People like that is like Al Horford can come out, especially with Porzingis back. You have Al Horford coming off your bench, and he can give you, I don't know, maybe like 9 points, all threes, and like 4 to 5 rebounds. That's a great night from your backup, and then they still got Peyton Pritchard who could do a little something. But I mean, it's really on the starting five of Boston, to be honest. But I just feel like just their other guys are better than the Mavericks. Other role players like Tim Hardaway is not really going to give them much. I could be wrong, but I can't really like Dante Exum. I mean, he'll give you a layup here and there, but
I got you. So to kind of shit talk the team that you just picked, guys. What are some things that concern you about the team that you picked? Like, what's some weaknesses that you see that you think could be manipulated by the other team?
Dono actually just hit on it. Guys like Dante Exum, guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., like when the Mavs ultimately have to go into that deeper rotation, like if Luka needs to sit for like 4 or 5 minutes, same with Kyrie, and they have to go like real deep in that rotation, I think it's going to be a problem. I think the Celtics are really good at exploiting teams' weaknesses, as you see. I mean, they basically had a cakewalk to this finals. A lot of people are going off of the fact that it's been injuries, but they've just been playing good team ball too. Like Dono said, like Derek White has been playing probably the best basketball of his career. I would argue the fact, besides Jaylen Brown, he's been the best player on the Celtics team for this playoff run. Drew Holiday stepped up huge in that last series against the Pacers. He was averaging about like 18 and like 8, and not let alone he was having like 6 or 7 rebounds a game too. Like he turned into a machine. And Al Horford, I think it's probably been like 2 years. One of the appearances I made on here, I was dogging Al Horford. You know what I mean? Like I was like, there's no way that this is going to be the guy that they keep. That I think he's like 36 now, maybe older. I was like, what is he going to kind of like? How is he going to be able to keep up with this like these running gun teams? And he's proven me completely wrong. You know what I mean? So I think that's the one thing that really concerns me with the Mavs going into this finals run, and just seeing how they can adapt to see if like those guys like Tim Hardaway, Dante Exum, see if Derek Lively can keep up, and still play how we played last series. So I would definitely say that's the one thing that concerns me.
The main thing that would concern me with Boston, I would say, is the inconsistencies on both sides of the court. Like offensively, they can be inconsistent, settling for the 3 a lot, and then it's almost like they'll just fall in love with it and they just won't win a game. And then defensively, they'll kind of have lapses at times, because I feel like the question with Boston has never been their talent, especially these last couple of years. Like they've been, if not in the finals, at the points where they could be in the finals, like at least the last 3 to 4 years. It's just been they haven't been able to finish the job. So it's like at this point, it's really the inconsistencies, in my opinion. I feel like Jason Tatum, I wouldn't say he absolutely needs to show up this series, but it's almost like like people are going to question you even more if Boston loses this series and then Jason Tatum is averaging like 20 points, shooting like 30%, something like that. So I just feel like it's really the inconsistencies with Boston. If they take advantage of the matchups and just play how they've been playing against these Eastern Conference teams all playoffs and not falling in love with 3, I feel like Boston could pretty much beat Dallas. It's just, will they be the same team night in and night out? Because I could see them beating Dallas by like 15-20 game 1, then come back game 2. They'll lose on their home court. Like I think the same thing happened in the Heat series. Like they lost at home to the Heat after just blowing them out the game before. So like stuff like that really is my only concern with Boston.
And you just talked about it with the Heat game or the Heat series. It reminds me a lot of last year when they played the Sixers, and James Harden dropped 40 in the first game, and then like the defense was trash. Like they really weren't even pressuring him on the ball. And then like the rest of the series they did that, except for the one other game he went for like 40 or hit the game winner or whatever. But it's like the defense from one game to another looks completely different. Like the offense can too. So like, yeah, I 100% agree with the inconsistency. But the Mavericks, what concerns me about the Mavericks, I would say, is they don't really have like a third guy. You feel me? Like there's no legit third guy that you can like consistently rely on every night. I feel like you're really hoping that things happen. Like you hope PJ Washington's gonna hit his open threes. You hope the Dante Exum's gonna hit his open shots. I mean, Gaff and Lively are going to be a force. I feel like it's just kind of which one's night is it going to be. You really don't really know on any given night either. So that's kind of the only thing for me about the Mavs is like who's that third guy going to be. And then Kyrie can't average 6 points in the first half either, like he did up until this most recent series. You got to come out firing. You got to come out aggressive, bro, because like you got to establish that early. It may have worked against other teams, but I mean against Boston. It's gonna take a full team effort, bro. Like, cause the Celtics play as a team. Like Donald said, like Tatum might not be the guy every night. Like it may be Brown, it could be Derek White. Drew Holiday can do everything on the court, bro. Like they have other guys that can step up and do things in their role. Do the Mavericks have that guy consistently every night? I don't know if they have that. So yeah, that would be my biggest concern for the Mavs.
That's a great point. It's like if it's not Luka or Kyrie every night, then it's like who is it?
Yeah, and it's like you really just hoping that somebody's gonna do it. You don't know on any given night. You feel me? So yeah, that's my thing. So who has the most to gain and who has the most to lose from winning the championship? Originally, this was just for Doncic and Tatum between the two. But I mean, if you guys feel like somebody else has more to gain or lose, you can go ahead and mention them. So yeah, who do you feel like has the most to gain or most to lose?
Yeah, I mean that's like you said, Mitch. I think you can kind of go both avenues with that between Luka and Tatum, and then the teams as well. I mean, if I'm gonna do it that like that, I would definitely go between Luka and Tatum. I think Luka has by far the most to gain. He's been consistent his whole career leading up to this point. He's been searching for that MVP trophy. He's been playing out of his mind since he stepped into this league. And now he's finally kind of willed a team to the finals. And I think he's been looking for that for over the past 2 years, getting Kyrie and then the Mavs finally cracking down and be like, okay, let's try to rebuild this team, not just to get some players, but to build it around Luka. And they were able to go get Gafford. They were able to go get PJ Washington getting Lively and just being able to really like sit down and build this team. I think Luka has by far the most to gain out of it. And then to piggyback off that, like Tatum has so much to lose. Everyone's been talking crazy about Tatum the last like 2 years, I think now. Is he ready for this moment? Is he a number one guy? Personally, I think he is. But losing another finals with basically the same team that he's had around him, and they haven't changed too much with them besides like a couple pieces here and there. I just think he has so much to lose, and I think it's going to really like hurt his reputation losing another finals, especially to a team that everyone's, convinced that they're going to beat. I haven't spoken to a lot of people that are taking the Mavs right now. So, going into a team like the Mavs and then losing against them, I think it's really going to hurt his reputation as a player. And then for the Celtics, again, they have so much to lose because I think after this season, if they lose, and especially if it's in like pretty dominant fashion, I think they blow that team up. I think either Brown leaves or they look for trades, and I think people are going to get fed up because it's like, how many times can we get to the pinnacle and then not win it? It's like, what's the point? Like, what's the point that we look at this Celtics team, like, okay, what do we have to move around right now to finally get to this spot in the finals and win it? Like that's got to get frustrating to a certain point. So, I think Mavs all around have the most to gain from this because they're a really young team. Besides, I guess like Kyrie, who's getting up there a little bit, but I mean they're a really young team and nobody picked them to get to this spot. They battled their way through the Western Conference and killed it. Got to this spot with the pieces that they do have with not that many rotational pieces. Really only having like a 7-man rotation and still being able to dominate a lot of these like the best teams in the West. So I think they have so much to gain just from that alone. They can get to this spot with this young team, and if they lose, they lose. I mean, I think this team has a lot of more years together, and then they can finally venture off and go get that number 3 guy, like that dominant third guy that can really elevate this team to better heights. So.
For the most to gain, obviously I agree with Luke on that, but low key, I feel like Kyrie might have the most to gain from winning this NBA Finals. Just ever since he's left Cleveland, if we're just following his career path, just when he went to Boston, he wasn't really well received there. Then he goes to Brooklyn with KD, and they don't really get it done in the playoffs there either. And then he basically gets traded. A player of Kyrie's stature gets traded to the Mavericks for what was it, like Spencer Dinwiddie and like a first round pick, So just everything Kyrie's been through up until now for him to win a championship, and then without LeBron at that, because obviously people talk about stuff like that. I feel like Kyrie would definitely have a lot to gain from winning a championship here. It would almost be like, not to say they're the same exact situations, but kind of like when Kobe first won after years without being with no longer being teammates with Shaq. So just to see, Kyrie's career path and how, I would kind of say he's probably the leader of that Mavericks team, to be honest, just kind of how he's been keeping them leveled and calm, and just kind of, the brother got his third eye open. So he just kind of been keeping them awake. So I feel like Kyrie definitely has the most to gain, the most to lose outside of Tatum. I would honestly say probably Joe Mazzulla, the coach. I just got put into, especially after they fired Udoka. Mazzulla stepped in, and then he took over already well-constructed team. So he really just had to, I'm not going to say not mess it up, but essentially he didn't really it wasn't like he was put into a bad situation. So for last year, for them to lose in the Eastern Conference Finals after being down 3-0, and then for them to bounce back this year and make it back to the finals, I feel like he definitely has to get it done, because if they lose, I just feel like in the position Boston's in, they'll get rid of the coach before the players. They just signed Jaylen Brown to that new contract. I'm sure Tatum will probably, if he didn't get an extension already, he's probably due for one soon. So it's just like the team they put around him, I don't feel like they'll put the blame on the player. That's just kind of the league we're in now. You see the coaches will get the blame first. So I just think if Boston loses this series, Mazzulla will definitely get the blame for it. So I feel like he's definitely the one that has the most to lose if Boston doesn't win the finals here.
No, your answers are great. I wanted somebody to say Kyrie, and I wanted somebody to say Mazzulla. You said both. Beautiful. So as far as the Kyrie one, I do think it's a little bit different from, when Kobe left Shaq or whatever, because, at least I feel like Kobe was the guy on that championship team after Shaq left. Like, Kyrie's still not the guy. He's still the number 2, essentially, which I feel like we know Kyrie to be, at his best when he's the number 2. So I feel like another championship to me doesn't really change anything for me perspective-wise on Kyrie. I feel like I already know who he is. He becomes one of the best, backcourt number 2s that you can have maybe in NBA history. I think so. But I think most to gain for me would be Luka, just because fun stat that I got from Nick Wright, Luka has 5 first-team All-NBAs, and that's more than Steph Curry in his entire career.
Sheesh.
And Luka's 25. So, that's pretty – 5 years in a row getting first-team All-NBA is pretty insane. So, that already puts you in rare air. We talk about the playoff points that Luka scored. He's, I think, second behind Michael Jordan and points averaged in the playoffs. So he's really starting to put together this resume, I guess, this all-time resume, especially if he wins the championship, finals MVP, all that. He's really only missing a regular season MVP, which I think eventually he'll get. I've been kind of waiting for it for 3 years now. It just hasn't happened. But I really think that it starts to put him into that rare area. And then he's also, I think, maybe top 2 at that point of best player in the NBA or in the world, maybe, behind Jokic. So, yeah, I think that it'll definitely move him up in a lot of people's eyes if he wins this. And for most to lose, I was thinking Tatum, but I think I'm going to go Mazzulla as well, like Dono said. I think a lot of people are under the impression that if Ime Udoka was still the coach of this team, they would have a championship already. So Joe Mazzulla, newer coach, he's kind of had, again, these really good rosters. So for you to not really do anything with it other than win the East a couple times, which is cool. But especially this time when it was such a cakewalk, that's not really an accomplishment. Winning the finals is really what it's about. So if you go out there and then the Mavericks really just picked up these guys at the trade deadline, Gafford and PJ Washington and these other guys. So the Celtics have been building this for years. So for them to just do it all like their second year. They didn't even make the playoffs last year. The Mavericks did. So like if the Mavericks win this, like the Celtics, you got to look at them a little bit differently. And then Adam, you talked about potentially the Celtics like pivoting if they lose. I don't really know where they can go after this. And maybe it's something we get more into if they lose. But, it's re-upped on Drew Holiday's contract. They just extended him. Jaylen Brown's coming off that $300 million contract that we know about. They're talking about obviously extending Tatum and Tatum being the star player. I mean, unless he puts up an absolute stinker, I don't see them not, being up on Tatum's contract. They just re-upped on Kristaps' contract. So, like, all these guys are really honestly bought in. There's not a whole lot you could do unless someone's paying $300 for Jaylen Brown, which, I mean, I'm not personally. I'm not looking at that. So I think that they'd have to run it back. And then that's where I think Donovan's thought process of they'd have to get rid of the coach and not really blame the players, I think, comes in. So I think they'd wind up running it back. But, I mean, this was honestly your year, bro. Like, the Knicks are down, the Heat are down, the Sixers are down, the Bucks are down. Like, come on, bro. This was the year. So, yeah, if you can't cash in this year, it's looking real bad. So I definitely think the Celtics overall and Mazzulla has the most to lose if the Celtics can't cash in.
That's what I hate, though, is just like, and Dono said it, like, it's not that you guys are saying it, but it's like, it's the league that we watch now, right? It's the league that these guys are in. It's like, and this is coming from a Lakers fan. It's always the coach's fault, which I've never understood. Like, the coach is like the number one person on the hot seat every single season after like a team like this like potentially loses or anything like that. And I've always hated that because Mazzulla's not out there playing for these guys. You know what I'm saying? He's not taking these shots. He's not defending, right? So it's just like I've always hated that like narrative that like this is the league that we are, just because it just doesn't sit well with me. Mazzulla, like Dono said, he was placed in a very, very good position with his team. Like he had the fucking, sorry for my language, he had like the best team possible to be thrown into, right? So it's just like, I think that is the toughest thing, like you guys are talking about with these contracts, is they're giving like Tatum, Brown, they're giving these guys bags. So like they're just setting themselves up for failure because it's like, oh yeah, let's throw $300 million at Jaylen Brown for us to get to the finals again next year and lose. And then let's go extend Tatum, who's like, in my mind, and just like looking through my research, like he's never really shown up in some of these finals games. Like he's had some pretty bad finals appearances. So it's just like, yeah, let's just keep extending these guys and throwing so much money at them let's run it back to the finals and then not do it. So I think they have so much to lose because it's almost like they're killing themselves from within. You know what I mean? And they're like, I just don't think it's good, like a good recipe. And I think it's going to potentially, when they keep going to these finals and losing, the fans are going to start getting disgruntled. Front office players, like it's going to blow up in their face, pause. And it's just never going to work out for them in my mind. So I don't know. It frustrates me so much that like, it's a great point that Dono said, but it's like, it frustrates me so much that Mazzulla is going to be, if they lose, Mazzulla will be the number one person to get cut. And nothing else from that would happen with these players because everyone will be like, oh yeah, Mazzulla's gone, new coach, let's figure it out. I hate that. I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me at all.
No, like I actually 100% agree with that. And then the thing I hate is that we're in a professional league at this point. You're not coaching, little kids at this point or even college players at this point. So like when people be like, your team came out and your team was not prepared, it's like, bro, at the end of the day, I'm just the coach. These are 30-year-old men, bro. Like, if you don't want the game that much, that's on you, brother. Like, you feel me? Like, I put up the game plan. I was up all night. We did the training session. We did the film session, guys. We watched film. I was there. You feel me? So, like, for y'all to go out there and not execute is on y'all. So, I do think that it should be a team thing, but it's the NBA, bro. It's going to be so much easier. It's so much easier to point blame at the coach than to be like, the $300 million guy. It's you. It's you. Teams don't admit when they're wrong.
Right. That's coming from a Lakers fan, right? We do this every 2 years.
That's yeah. Right.
I understand. I've seen it firsthand. It's just, I don't know. I don't get it at all. Like, in my mind, Lakers just still have Frank Vogel. The fact that we just completely cut him after one bounce out of the playoffs, I don't know. I don't get it, bro. I don't understand it at all.
I agree. But that's gonna do it for today's show, man. Appreciate the engagement in the comment section, y'all. We definitely appreciate the love. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that type of stuff. We hope you guys enjoy the NBA Finals. Let us know your picks and predictions for the series. Is Luka gonna have a 50-point game? Is Kyrie gonna be great? Is Tatum gonna suck, guys? Let us know. Please let us know in the comments and enjoy the finals, y'all. And we'll catch y'all afterward.
Yes, sir.
Peace.